Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amplify with Adam. Today we have Bill here from Quick Tech Machining. Bill, thank you so much for joining us, man. Excited to
Yes,
have you.
sir. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Bill, give us a little intro to you and Quick Tech Machining. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I will. I was born and raised in Northwest Florida, a little above Pensacola, Florida, until I was like 10 years old. And my dad got a job with a company in York, South Carolina. So we moved to South Carolina in 1973. Been living there ever since. I'm in York or thereabout. My background, uh, personal background is graduated high school in 1981, went on to York Technical College, got a degree in machine tool technology, minor in heat treating and metallurgy, and just kind of learned a little bit of stuff, basics about machine shop in there and how to do everything, and then it was kind of on to the real life. I got married in 1984, been married to my wife, Cindy, ever since. And she's been a big bonus in this business. She's helped me tremendously to make it successful. And mainly by supporting those 60, 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks, and the times when money was tight, when we were doing without and everything. You just kind of have to live through that stuff. And we've made it happen, and we're still not multimillionaires. We're not living the dream in the jet set world or anything like that, but we've managed to squeak out a decent living, and good employees have helped us do that along the way. And that's kind of where it started. And I guess it was like 1980, I'm thinking like 1986 or 87, somewhere along in there. My wife's dad actually built a building in back of his house, and it was a 40 by 20 shop.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me half of it to use as a machine shop. I borrowed $3,500 to buy my first engine lathe. Didn't have $3,500 to spend, so I borrowed it. And it paid for itself really quick and grew to a point where I needed a milling machine, bought a milling machine and a welder. I was welding up journals on rollers primarily and turning them back down for bearing fits. And I did that for quite a while, and then things just started branching out at home. Now, keep in mind, I'm working a full-time job, working 50, 60 hours a week at a full-time job while I'm doing all this at night.
So at this point, this is a side gig for you.
It's a side gig. Yes, it is. It's a side gig. And I was racing go-karts, spending just about all my money I was making in the shop racing go-karts, traveling all over South Carolina and around doing that. So it wasn't like I was getting rich at home. It's just extra money that we were playing with. But eventually, it got to a point where things were growing, and I had went to work for a company called Production Tool and Die in Charlotte. I'll give them a little plug. Great people. And the guy that owned the place that actually hired me, he passed away, and his son took over the business. And me and his son were pretty good friends. And he saw how much I was working. By this time, let me back up just a little bit. By this time, I had started making screw-in shotgun chokes, and started another brand called Pure Gold Shotgun Chokes.
Yeah.
And I had bought a CNC lathe to make shotgun chokes with, and I was running it at night also, working 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then going in working every day at, his shop 50, 60 hours a week. So he came to me one day and he said, "You really need to make a decision. You need to work for me or you need to work for yourself." I said, "You're killing yourself doing this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Are you going to fire me?" And he said, "No, I don't want you to quit." He said, "But you need to decide what you want to do. You're hurting yourself doing this. I watched my dad do it, and he's 66 years old and he just died. So I don't want to see you get in the same boat."
Right.
I said, "Well," he said, "Well, if you're not going to fire me, when do you want me to make a decision?" He said, "Well, just take your time." So I did. And, as time went by there, a week or two went by, work at my shop started getting really heavy. I started getting a lot of work at night, and my backlog was getting pushed out 3 or 4 months. And I finally made the call. I said, "You know what? I'm 35 years old. What's the worst that can happen is fall flat on my butt, and I just have to get up and start again. I'm young enough, I can do that." So that's pretty much what we did. I started with that CNC lathe, and about a year later, I bought a CNC milling machine, and I'd rented a little building downtown Rock Hill. And I outgrew it pretty quick. I needed a little bit more modern, easily accessed building, I guess you could say, to put the milling machine in, because it would physically fit in that building, but it was going to be a real troublesome thing to get it in there.
Yeah.
So I had a friend that had just built a big factory, and he had some extra space, and he actually leased me some of that space, and I moved in it and stayed there for, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I guess. And then we built a building of our own and moved into it. And we've been in it, what, 15, 16 years now, I guess.
That's awesome. So when your backlog was getting, when you were starting to get heavier and heavier workload, on your kind of the side gig right before you started, where were you getting those customers? Was it all local relationship stuff?
Yeah, it's the old adage, word of mouth. If you do good work, people are going to come to you and look you up and find you. And I had done a lot of good work for people, and they just kept telling, hey, I know this guy that can do this for you. And they kept coming to me. And I honestly, I have went after customers, since I went into it full time and everything. Everybody has to.
Yeah.
But before I went full time, it was people coming to me primarily. Just did good work, gave them a fair price, and they, kept coming back.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, when I was looking at your website, it says when time and quality count, and that feels like kind of a core tenet for you guys. Is that kind of does that message kind of you guys prioritize?
Yeah, well, when we first started, that was correct. Time and quality count, and we still try really hard, to accommodate our customers' needs. If somebody needs something in a hurry, we'll make it happen. We work late, work weekends, whatever we have to do to make it happen. But as we got bigger, your scheduling comes into play. When you get bigger customers that they have longer running jobs and stuff like that, and you have deadlines to meet for them, so it's not as easy to make that when time and quality count stick like it used to be. But we still honor it as much as we can. Yeah. That was my wife's deal, by the way. She came up with that.
Well, I like that. I'm a marketing guy at heart, and I like that tagline a lot. So it sounds like you got a good one as a partner there. So it also sounds like you're really open to getting evolving with the new technology, right? Like you've listed 4 or 5 machines that you got. As time went on. Have you kept up with that as Quick Tech has grown? Like, have you added any new capabilities recently?
Yeah, we have 4 milling centers. Well, actually 5 milling centers and 2 turning centers, if you count the 2 in the other building, which are primarily used to manufacture shotgun chokes. But we have 5 milling centers and 2 turning centers. We do a lot more mill work than we do lathe work, and that's not necessarily because we want to do more mill work. It's just because that's what's more available.
Yeah.
But we keep up with the times with tooling and technologies. I mean, a lot of people get ticked off when tool salesmen come in the door and say, hey, look what I got. Not us. Those guys have made us tons of money over the years. And if I could give anybody in the machine shop business, or any business for that matter, a recommendation, listen to what these guys have. Yeah. Some of it is smoke, right? Some of it's just another way of selling the same old thing. But every now and then they'll pop up with some new technology that'll make you several $1,000s right off the bat. Why not take advantage of it, right?
Yeah. So what's something recently that you've taken advantage of there? Like, what are some tools that you're using right now that are really kind of impacting your business?
Mainly it's drilling technology. There are some companies out there right now that have some really special drills that are great, and they're fast. They last a long time. They stay sharp. We do some milling stuff too with some really nice stuff like that they've came in and shown us how to use. Pretty much everybody's familiar with feed milling, but there are some techniques and stuff involved in feed milling that you can maximize the use of them, and we've learned how to do some of that. And we've done some of our own development on tools, and particularly in deep hole boring. We've manufactured some of our own tooling to do that with. And
Yeah.
right now we're the only company out there that does shotgun chokes from one end to the other on the internal bore.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it sounded like you were still doing the shotgun chokes from, I think you said that started in like 86 or something. So,
well, actually the first one I made was in 1998. I think it was in 1998, and
okay.
I made it for myself. And I made that because a friend of mine went turkey hunting. I called him and asked him to come over and help me kill a turkey. And as it turned out, the turkey I shot didn't really die right away like it should. You know, I had to go out there and get it and everything. But he said, you need to get you a turkey choke. And I asked him, I said, well, what is that? I honestly didn't know.
Yeah.
And he showed me the one he had in his gun. And I, you know, being a tool and die maker, and I was still working at production tool and die at the time. And I had access to wire machines, EDM machines, and, you know, grinders and everything. I said, well, you know what? I can make one better than that.
Yeah.
And I made about half of a 5-gallon bucket full of such chokes before I found one that really worked better. And after I did, I showed him, I said, come over and let's try it out and see how it works. Well, it was a lot better than the one he had. So he wanted one, and then his friends wanted one, and then their friends wanted one. And before you know it, you know, I'm in the shotgun choke business. It's kind of the American dream, for what everybody tells me. But
That's
it
awesome.
wasn't always a dream, trust me. Sometimes it was kind of a nightmare, but it works out.
That's awesome, man. So that's still kind of a key part of your business, it sounds like.
Yeah, the company's the choke business eventually grew to the point where we actually had to completely separate it from the machine shop. They've always been two incorporations, if you will, but you know, due to insurance and liabilities and stuff, you basically have to separate the two companies from that standpoint. But we were using the same equipment and building and everything, you know, to manufacture in. And the chokes just grew to the point where they were getting in the way of the machine shop. And we had to do something different. So we built an entirely new modern building, put brand new equipment in it, and moved one of my key employees over there to that shop to run it pretty much. And that's kind of where that went.
That's awesome, man. So when you look at kind of, you know, you were so hands-on early, are you still on the machines at all, or have you moved really into more, you know, small business owner and running the?
Yeah, I'm guilty. You know, I've got some great people that work for me. Daniel Byers is my shop manager, and he pretty much handles everything day to day. He does most of the quoting. I still get involved in the big quotes and the complex quotes. You know, I'm involved with that, you know, not every day, but a lot. And Barbara does the office management, and she does all our ordering, invoicing, and everything, keeps that on track for us. And but yeah, I'm involved, but not as involved as I was. But you know, it's like I tell everybody, I'm really not ashamed of that. I've put in, you know, if a guy works 40 hours a week until he's 65 years old, he puts in X number of hours, you know. I put that X number of hours in by the time I was about 45. So I worked about 10 years past that before I really slowed down.
Yeah.
So it's not like I went on cruise control, you know.
Yeah. No, man, I think that's the goal, right? You work yourself out.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, every small business owner, you know, does things differently. I have a concept that I get in the way out there more than I help, you know, right now, because when I'm out there, everybody wants to stop and talk to me and ask questions and, you know, what do you think about this? But if you've got good employees that know what they're doing, they don't need to ask those questions. Generally, they can figure the stuff out on their own, and they learn. And you know, it's just unnecessary to micromanage. They know I'm here if they need them. I'm a phone call away. You know, literally my house is 600 feet away from the shop, so it's not like, you know, it's a hard thing to get a hold of me.
Yeah. No, empowering your employees and allowing them to own their processes, I think, is so important. So
it is. It really is.
You gave a little bit of advice earlier, but one thing I always like to ask is, you know, if you're talking to someone about getting into the manufacturing space or thinking about starting their own small business, you know, what's kind of one or two pieces of advice that you'd pass along of, you know, you've got such a rich history. what are some lessons that you kind of try to impart?
Well, I get asked this, every so often. Somebody looking at starting something does come to me and ask me that, and I'm probably not the best example because I'm in my later 50s now, and I've not made a millionaire out of being a small business owner like some people do. So maybe I'm not the best person to learn from, but I can tell you, you need to start with one of two things. You need to start with a big bank account or some really thick skin.
Yeah.
Because it can get tough. I mean, there were years, and I'm not saying weeks and months, I'm talking about years that we literally were ashamed to go out and eat supper because, we were having trouble paying bills, paying our creditors, our material suppliers and stuff. And we were on the lean. We didn't take vacations. We didn't go anywhere, do anything. And, those times are tough, and it's easy to give up. Bragging on myself, I'm smart enough to where I feel like I could go anywhere and get a job and work.
You're right.
I've got the skill set to do it, and I'm still physically able to. So it's kind of a thing, like you have to force yourself not to give up. And I think that's the most important thing, is just don't give up. Listen to people. Don't be ashamed to ask for advice from people. There's always people out there that are smarter than you are. And they know things that you don't know because they've lived through it. They understand the problems that you're having. You may not see it in them because everybody don't show it, but there are some people out there that could be great mentors. And I was blessed to have some of those along the way, people that I could go to and tell them, hey, I'm having this issue. What do I do? Money's tight. Where do I get money from? How do I deal with this? I don't have any work right now. People are asking for money. What do you do? And one of the great pieces of advice that I got was, don't dodge your creditors. They don't want your equipment back. That's the last thing they want is your equipment. They've got warehouses full of repossessed equipment. What they want is somebody to work with them and tell them, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm trying my best. I'm going to pay you guys. Just give me some time. And I did that. I just kept, feeding them $100 a month. Maybe I owed them $1,300 a month. I'd give them $100 a month. Sometimes it was $50 a month. But, I just, every time they called, I never dodged the phone call.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this lady. Her name is Colleen Fowler. She worked for GE Capital. She and I were on a first name basis because we talked about twice a week for about a year and a half. And, she was just really nice about things and pleasant. I was pleasant to her. Hey, listen, everybody gets in trouble. It's not something you have to be ashamed of or anything like that. I mean, it's part of business. You have high times, you have low times, and you just work through them. But working with the people around you, that makes all the difference in the world. I don't know anybody that can do it by themselves. I've never met anybody that I felt like was capable of starting from a ground zero and running a machine shop until they die without help. I don't know anybody like that. And I've known some really smart people in the machine shop business, but they'll be the first to tell you they had help along the way too.
Well, Bill, man, I think you're being hard on yourself because I think that was fantastic advice. And so you saying that you're not a good one to ask is I disagree with you, because that was really special. And I love that story, man. It's and the thick skin, I think it's so important, right? It's believing in yourself, believing in your vision.
Absolutely.
I think that's
absolutely. I mean, if you wanted to start a business, there had to be a reason you wanted to do that. And it, maybe it was just to work for yourself, but 9 times out of 10, you start a business so that you can have some amount of success and live a decent lifestyle. And you just have to, I was told this one time, you can be as rich as you want to be. You just have to figure out how much of yourself you want to give away to be rich.
Yeah.
And, that there's a lot of truth in that saying. In my case, I work, 50, 60 hours a week on a full-time job and 40 hours or more a week at home, to get to a point where I could even think about starting a business on my own. And from there, it just went. Sorry?
Instead of and race all the go-karts you want.
Whoa, Lord. You know what? I love that. I really had a lot of fun doing that. But let me tell you what, you can spend a ton of money doing that. I could have paid for half of a house with what I spent on go-karts.
That's amazing. Well,
I mean,
Bill, we're gonna need to hear the go-kart story in the because I'm intrigued, man. But thank you so much for joining us this week. This was a phenomenal conversation, and we so appreciate the advice and also just your time and joining us. So,
well, thank you very much. We're, Quick Tech's not a big shop. We're a small shop, but we pride ourselves in being able to do a lot of things that other people won't do or can't do. And, we can work with the 1-piece deal. We can work with a 10,000 piece deal. It's send it to us. We'll make it happen.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, Bill, like I said, thanks for joining. And guys, tune in next week for another episode of Amplify with Adam. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Bye.